Hello, welcome back to my haunted library. It's Regina. It's good to see you all. I hope you're having a wonderful summer so far. Mine's been interesting. I've been trying to, exercise and get in shape, so I've been riding my bike every morning for about 4 to 5 miles. And this morning, I fell off my bike. It's embarrassing, but I scraped my leg a little bit. I wasn't going fast. In fact, I wasn't going at all. I was actually mounting my bike, and I guess I was trying to be cute, and I swung my leg in a way that I haven't done in a while, and down I went. My shoulder took the brunt of it, and it doesn't hurt, but tomorrow could be another day. Anyway, and after that, got right back on the bike, and I'm like, this is a metaphor for life, and it's probably my karma coming back at me for watching so many Instagram videos where people fall and laugh and stuff. Not that I seek those things out, they just keep sending them in my feed. Anyway, I wanted to let you know that I haven't forgotten about the bookworms giveaway for the zine. Here it is. I'm really proud of this one. And the t-shirt. So I've been tallying up all the names, and we're going to choose the winner right now. So congratulations to, and the way to claim your prize is to contact me at Regina's Haunted Library, no apostrophe on that S, at gmail.com. I'll put everything in the description below so you can claim your prize as soon as possible. So thanks for entering, and everyone who ordered bookworms so far, thanks a lot, and we still have some copies left, so please head over to the Etsy shop and get your zine now. Oh, and speaking of zine, I have an open submission now for the next round of submissions for the Halloween issue, which will be coming out in, I say Halloween issue, we'll say spooky season issue coming out in September, and late September, and the theme this time around is witches. So all of them witches, witchy themes. I'm looking for short stories and poems and essays about witches. So I know a lot of witchy people. I'm hoping that you will submit and check that out. I also have the info below. I have trouble talking today. Maybe I hit my head when I fell off my bike. Oh, but what else do I want to talk about? A couple things. My friend E.D. Lewis sent me a copy of his short novella, Long Buried. I really love that cover. He did a very nice job on this. This is available in print. So I'm familiar with this story because a shorter version of it is in the anthology that I edited, put together, called Local Haunts, which was the first of the HorrorTube anthology. This is an expanded version of the story, and I really think it works great in this format. It's like a quiet gothic story about a young man who returns home to his home where there's a lot of, if not literal, definite psychological ghosts. And it's just him and his mother kind of confronting their difficult relationship and kind of the ghost of the past. It's really well done. It's like I said, very quiet, but it kind of creeps up on you and gets under your skin, that type of story. Anyway, definitely check it out. And if you don't know E.D. Lewis's channel, check that out too. It'll also be listed below. I'm a big fan of him as a writer and as a friend. He's wonderful. Even though I've never met him in real life, we've connected over the airwaves, so to speak, these past few years. Oh, and another thing I wanted to share with you is I found this gigantic jumbo size horror comic at my favorite antique store just maybe a couple days ago, and I just jumped on this thing, and I'm actually going to go back because they had a whole bunch of comics, like larger comics and magazines, and I didn't have time to just go through all of them, but I just went crazy when I saw this because I've never seen a horror comic, or any comic really, this large. And since I am somewhat of a senior citizen these days with failing eyesight, the large print was definitely appreciated. I sat on my couch yesterday and just read this cover to cover and was having a blast. An absolute blast. All the stories in here are amazing. And it also has this thing, not that I'm going to cut it out, but I'm kind of tempted, tabletop diorama where you can cut this out and put it on your tabletop and insert like a bat in it. And oh my gosh, it's just so much fun. This was great. All right, so what else? Well, I've been doing some summer reading. I am almost finished the V.C. Andrews series, the Wildflowers series. I went through the 4 shorter books, and now I'm on the larger novel that ends the series. It's kind of like the Orphan series, which I read too. I think I did a review on that. I might have mentioned it, but I don't know if I did a full review of the series or not. It wasn't quite memorable. This one is actually better, so we'll do a full review of that. And yeah, I'm enjoying that. And what else have I been reading? Well, I went to the library in my town, and I do love getting out library books, especially in the summer. So I put that short vlog on my Patreon page, but I'm going to also include it at the end of this video if you want to stick around to the end. And if you want to become a patron, you can also check that out in the description. I'm always happy to welcome new friends on that platform. One of the things I'm trying to do is get a video, a vlog, and on Patreon, and a vlog and a blog on my regular website, rstclair.com. This is what I'm trying to do every week. So we'll see if I can put that together. What else have I been reading? So yeah, summer reading. I picked up a lot of fun books. I've also been listening to some fun autobiographies on Audible. I read Mina Sorvari's book, The Great Peace, a Memoir. Mina Sorvari, I think I'm saying her name correctly, Sorvari. She is an actress, most famous for doing the role in American Beauty with Kevin Spacey. She gets into all of that. The book is, it was a fast listen, and it was a very sleazy read in a way, and better for it. I always enjoy that kind of thing. But it's all kind of about, it's sad too. It's very sad. When she was making American Beauty, her life was a living hell with this abusive boyfriend, and she got into drugs. And then each chapter is pretty much named after one man in her life. It kind of is, it's a little bit like mile by mile, man by man kind of story, which I guess I got a little bit frustrated with after a while, but who cares? It was a fun read, and I wish her the best. Oh, speaking of her, I've always loved her voice. So she narrates it, and I believe she narrates an audible version of Flowers in the Attic, which I have to treat myself to, because I don't think I've ever listened to that on audiobook, and with her voice, I think it would make it that much better. So I will check that out. I also am in the process of listening to Andrew McCarthy. He has a new movie out called Brats, which I watched last night on Hulu. I got myself a Hulu subscription and then immediately canceled it because I just wanted to watch that one thing. So I have it till the end of the month, so maybe I'll watch a few other things, but I could not pass up something about the Brat Pack because that is my generation. I love all those actors. I loved all those movies, even though I pretended that I was too cool for those movies because, I was into Fellini and all these like French films, but no, secretly I love St. Elmo's Fire, and it was so much fun. So I'm reading listening to it rather, by Andrew McCarthy. He's a very good writer. I just started it today on my bike ride, and I'm really loving it because he and I are the same age, so it's like when he's talking about all the things that he was studying in acting school in New York. I was in Virginia, but then I moved to New York, and I'm sure I crossed paths with him at some point, but all the references, all the plays that were out, the way he describes his acting classes, exactly the kind of stuff I went through. So I'm really enjoying it, and I enjoyed the documentary. I really did. Okay, so now on to the main event, where I list, just for fun, because I know I'm going to be missing a lot because these are just movies that I have seen. I'm going to be listing my dastardly dads of horror cinema from bad to worst. So let's go. All right, I'm going to start with Harry Cooper from Night of the Living Dead. That's a 1968 classic horror film by George Romero. I'm sure most of us are very familiar with it. The Cooper couple, the husband and wife, the father and mom, are very, they're bickering with each other. And Harry Cooper just kind of, he's not like evil as much as he's just like a jerk and weak. And before I go on, I'm going to have spoilers in this list of things that happen in the movies. So please just know that going in. I don't want to upset anyone that I'm giving something away here. So that's your warning. Because as you recall, Ben does shoot Harry Cooper at the end. And then the little girl, his own daughter, starts eating, when she turns into a zombie, she starts eating his flesh right before she stabs her mother with the garden tool. I think it's like a spade or something. So Harry Cooper does kind of get his. He's not as evil as some of the dads on this list, but he certainly is obnoxious and doesn't help matters. Let's put it that way. He thinks he knows everything. The wife is like, it's important that you're right all the time. Like their relationship is really kind of toxic. But yeah, so that was my number 10. Number 9, another weak dad. But in a lot of ways, there's nothing more dangerous than a weak man. Because a weak man will allow an evil force to come in. So one of the most milquetoast husbands of all time is Larry Cotton from Hellraiser, the 1987 film written and directed by our beloved Clive Barker. It's Frank, the bad boy that Julia falls in lust with, and Larry. Larry is the dad. He is, he's a nice guy. I don't mean to say he's, not a good guy, but it's kind of his fault that Frank gets reanimated, because if you recall, he cuts his hand when they're moving, and there's that wonderful, very sexual, but what do we expect from Clive Barker, which is, he's just wonderful. That scene where they're pushing, they're moving the mattress, and Larry's trying to push it up the stairs, and the pushing movement is intercut with Julia's sexual fantasy of a different type of pushing, I'll just put it that way, from Frank, Larry's brother. And then Larry comes in like as if he's like, Mommy, fix my hand, I cut myself. He's just this kind of weakling. And then his blood drips on the floor and helps to start the reanimation process. So he's not so much evil as he is weak. And then, of course, when Frank uses his skin at the end to become him, and the whole come to daddy. It's classic and it's wonderful. And then he gets, of course, pulled to pieces by the Cenobites, but it's Larry, but it's actually Frank. So in the number 8 spot is the dad from Burnt Offerings. His name is Ben Rolfe. And that is a 1976 film by Dan Curtis, starring Karen Black, Oliver Reed, and wonderful Bette Davis in a grand dame guignol turn, based on the novel by Robert Marasco. So this is a story of a family that moves into a house for the summer, and they're getting it's a really nice house. It's a mansion, in fact, and they're getting a great deal on it. The only catch is there's a weird old lady in the attic, but hey, she's no problem. How many of us would take that on, knowing what we know about horror films? Well, Oliver Reed, first of all, I've always had a crush on Oliver Reed. The fact that he's like a big guy and also kind of creepy just adds to the attraction, I have to say. I'm confessing. But in this film, he's not a completely bad guy, but he starts to go a little Jack Torrance at one point in the film. There's a scene where he's in the pool with his son, and the kid is, the waves are like kind of like splashing around the pool. It's like kind of an out of control pool, and Dad starts acting really weird. And Dad's not helping me, and he's roughhousing with the kid. So and there's this one shot of him kind of like moving through the water, almost looking like a shark. He does kind of try to save the day at the end. So he's not he's not like an evil character. He's just kind of becoming evil through the haunted house or the paranormal effects that's going on. Dad goes a little weird in the swimming pool, so we're going to go with Oliver Reed in Burnt Offerings. All right, number 7. This might be a little bit of a stretch, but I'm going with Richard Carmichael, the character, Richard Carmichael from The Changeling. This is a 1980 film directed by Peter Maddox, starring George C. Scott. His wife and child are killed in a freak accident in the beginning of the film. So he rents this old house. He's going to recover there. Well, of course, it's a haunted house. And Joseph Carmichael is the father of the boy who is drowned in the bathtub. And it's a really creepy backstory, and it's discovered through this amazing scene with the seance. And you see the father in one scene, in like a flashback scene, doing this. And the reason why the father kills his son is because he can't handle the fact that his son is crippled and disabled. So he kills that son, and the changeling is another boy that was an orphan who then has gone on to become a United States senator who's now an old man. It's a great story. It's a great movie. And but that father, even though he's not really in the film, but in like a brief, I think maybe you only see his hands, but you learn about him through the story, always stayed with me as just a horrible, horrible man. And so that's why I'm going with him. Okay. Number 6. Well, who can forget this patriarch of horror? I'm going with Grandpa Sawyer from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a 1974 film by Tobe Hooper. And he becomes more of a character in the sequels. I've only seen, I think, Texas Chainsaw 2 and maybe one other film. Anyway, I'm just talking about the first film because can you imagine taking like a date home to meet your family, and there's Grandpa looking like a corpse, right? Well, he practically is a corpse in that movie, in the first movie, looking like a corpse at the table. It's like, oh, this is my date. Pleased to meet you, sir. And then he starts like sucking on your fingers. No, that is the stuff of absolute nightmare. So yeah, we're gonna, just because he's so creepy and so scary, we're going with Grandpa Sawyer. All right, number 5. All right, I'm going with a film that I just watched recently, and I really liked it. Nathan Gardner, played by Nicolas Cage in Color Out of Space, a 2019 film by Richard Stanley based on a short story by H.P. Lovecraft. I have not read the short story, but I will at some point. But this is a science fiction, like cosmic horror story about a family that's living out in kind of in the middle of nowhere. A meteorite lands on their yard, and then creepy bad things start to happen. And Nicolas Cage does like a real Jack Torrance turn again in this film, and he goes full Cage and kind of freaks out and becomes a danger to his family because he's unhinged and out of control. And it's a very good movie. When this movie first came out, I kept seeing really bad reviews for it, so I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to see it. And then it came up on Shudder, I think, and I thought, oh, I'll give it a chance. I really enjoyed that movie a lot. So, and of course, Nicolas Cage is always great in everything he does. I really enjoyed his performance playing the unhinged dad in that movie. So, yeah, and a really creepy thing happens with the wife and the son that stuck with me for a long time. No pun intended, but if you've seen it, then you know what I mean by stuck with me. That was hard to get over, that one. It was really good. And the number 4 is a film I just rewatched recently, and that is the part of George Lutz in The Amityville Horror, 1979, directed by Stuart Rosenberg, starring James Brolin and Margot Kidder. Okay, I really enjoyed watching this again, and then I noticed that the audiobook was on YouTube for free, so I listened to about half of it. I've read the book, when it came out, and probably seen the movie a few times, I'm sure. I saw that movie in the theater when it came out, I know that. But James Brolin gets very creepy as the dad in this movie because, first of all, he's obsessed with putting firewood in the fireplace. That's in the book, too, of course. I mean, it's all based on a supposed true story. That's a whole long involved thing with, is it a true story? Isn't Was it exaggerated? I believe that there probably was some hauntings going on in that house. And of course, the original story about the murders that happened there, and then it even goes back in time beyond that. It's pretty disturbing. But James Brolin does a really good job of just becoming more and more unhinged in this movie. His eyes are going wild. His beard is growing. He's walking around in like underwear. It's like tidy whities at one point, which really kind of made me laugh. I love Margot Kidder in this movie. She's wonderful. She's such a great actress and so beautiful in this movie. But yeah, Dad goes off the rails in this. He does kind of bring it back at the end and manages to save the dog and save the day. But there for a while, you think he's going to go full Jack. So yeah, so that's number 4. Number 3 is one of my favorite classic films of all time. I consider this a horror film, definitely, and that is Harry Powell in The Night of the Hunter, 1955, directed by Charles Lawton, starring Robert Mitchum, Shelley Winters, and Lillian Gish. Mitchum plays a serial killer, Harry Powell, who is the ultimate wolf in sheep's clothing. This is actually based on a true story. But Harry Powell, if you haven't seen this film, I highly recommend this movie. It is a work of art. Yes, it's in black and white. Yes, it's old, but it's not that old. It's made to seem older because it's made in the mid-50s about the Depression era. So it has a feel of the 1930s. It's like a twisted fairy tale. It's very surreal. It has some very bizarre kind of musical scenes in it, and I absolutely love this film. It's a wonderful allegory of good and evil, where Harry Powell is ultimate evil. He is a preacher of some sort who he is the wolf in sheep's clothing. He disguises as a preacher. He roams from town to town looking for widows to marry and murder. And he's in prison for stealing a car or stealing a horse, something like that. And his cellmate is a man who's about to be executed, who hid a bunch of money. He stole a bunch of money and hid it somewhere on his poor farm. And Harry Powell, when he is released, goes and charms this man's widow, who is played by Shelley Winters, and her 2 children are trapped in his web too until they try to make their escape. It's a great movie. And the more I'm thinking about it, the more I want to watch it again. It's so good. Let me know in the comments below if you know this movie. I hope you do. And if you don't, just trust me on this one. It's an incredible film. All right, number 2, moving up to the top. This is one that might surprise you too, but I think this guy is also a wolf in sheep's clothing, but he's almost even more evil. I say he is more evil because he pretends to be the nice guy. That's the worst kind of evil, like Harry Powell. You as the viewer of that film know that even though other people are fooled by this guy, you're not fooled by him because you and the boy in the movie, we know what he's all about. In this film, if you don't know it, if you're going in cold, you don't really know that he is true evil until very near the end. So I am talking about Guy Woodhouse from Rosemary's Baby. 1968 film, directed by Roman Polanski, starring Mia Farrow and John Cassavetes. John Cassavetes is the ultimate narcissist in this film. He's a struggling actor. He's, good looking, charming, really could charm the pants off anyone with his turtlenecks and his dark, good looks. I love John Cassavetes. He's a wonderful actor and he's great in this role. The movie's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And he's an actor who is so vain and would do anything, literally anything for success, including selling off his wife as like a broodmare for Satan. This is the deal he makes with the devil. So even though he's not really Damien's father, Satan's the real father, he is the father of, he's playing the role of father to Rosemary's unborn child. And he's like one of those guys that's always like, from now on, baby, it's going to be nothing but roses and, future faker, right? And she's taken in with this guy. But I love it at the end when he comes up to her after she sees, the babies in the black bassinet, the devil child with the upside down cross, and she knows what it's all about now, and she's just kind of sitting, limply in the chair, and he comes up and he tries to bullshit her again with, it's going to be great, Paramount's calling, Hollywood's in the bag, and she just spits right in his face. It's a very satisfying moment in that film. So yeah, Guy Woodhouse is a dastardly dad. All right. So now we get to number one. You can probably guess who number one spot goes to, because I've been referencing this character throughout this list. And that is Jack Torrance, The Shining, 1980, directed by Stanley Kubrick, starring Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall, based on a Stephen King novel by the same name. I think it's Jack Nicholson's portrayal and also Kubrick's vision of the character that makes it so scary and so creepy. And there's that one scene where Jack, little Danny, sitting on his lap. That's a real quiet scene. I found that scene the scariest of all, because you could just see Danny's just like terrified of Dad. Like, what's my dad's so weird. And there's nothing more vulnerable than a child, especially in this situation where there's no village around, and Mom is doing her best, but she's terrified. And I think Shelley Duvall's role in that is so good. And I do know a little more of the backstory about like how she was treated on that shoot. It's really pretty awful. She's going to be in a new horror film, so I will definitely be checking that out when it comes around. But yeah, Jack Torrance and Nicholson's portrayal is just, he's so dangerous. He's so unhinged and so dangerous and so sadistic. And I don't know if another actor could get away with that, here's Johnny, and like those like crazy faces he makes. And he really goes over the top with it. Nicolas Cage can get away with it. Nicolas Cage is almost a little comical with it, though. Nicholson in that is, I believe him, and I want to be as far away from him as possible. Like it's really, really scary. And when he chases Danny into the labyrinth, the maze at the end, it's one of the most terrifying scenes in horror cinema, in my opinion. And the ending, of course, is very satisfying. But I hate what he does to Scatman Crothers. Like, that really bothers me every time I watch that film. So, yeah, Jack Torrance gets the crown for the most diabolical, dastardly dad in horror cinema history, in my opinion. And of course, these are all just my opinions, just for fun. So let me know in the comments below if you have any dastardly dads you would like to add to this list. I would love to hear your thoughts. So I hope you have a great weekend, a wonderful Father's Day, and I will see you next time in my haunted library. Bye. Hello. So today I went to my beautiful public library in my town, the Grundy Library, to pick up some summer reading. Now, it's been a while since I've been at the library, and yes, I have tons of books in my own library. My shoes were squeaking so bad I had to stop walking. But it doesn't mean I don't love library books. I really do. Here's the beautiful view of the river, and I found some V.C. Andrews books I have not read yet, so I'm going to add those to the stack of my summer reading. And look at this. I wish they would accept people my age to this zombie apocalypse training. Maybe I can sneak in. Such a beautiful day. I went up on the veranda. You can see our beautiful view of the Delaware River from our town. It's just absolutely lovely and just stunning. So I'm going to find a shady spot to go over my books and show you what I got out of the library. Now, I'm pretty sure I have this book in my library already in paperback, but I couldn't resist. This will force me into reading it because I plan to read all of these books for the summer. This is a new horror I found in the new section. I Don't know anything about it, but that's sure is a cool cover, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. I need to read more new fiction. Oh, and here we go. Becoming My Sister. This looked like something that Batilda and I will enjoy reading very much. I can relate. I don't know this one. And then we have Beneath the Attic. I read a lot of these newer attic stories, but I haven't read these two. So this is Out of the Attic. I'm not sure which one comes first, but I'm sure I can figure it out. I always enjoy these. I'm reading some V.C. Andrews now, so I might start right in with those. Oh, and this is my guilty pleasure. I almost feel a little embarrassed to share, but what the heck. Her Heart for a Compass by Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York. And I hate those slips. This is why my books were always late. There she is. Very nice photo. Oh, there goes my bag and my slip. This is why my library books are always late. I owed $20 on when I went in there today. $20 from a late fee. I really miss the old card in the back of the book where they would put the stamp letting you know what date the books are due back. Who's going to remember that slip? Anyway, I put it in my calendar. Okay, I thought I would de-stress by showing you the beautiful gardens around Grundy Museum, which is right next to the library. These gardens have been redesigned recently, and whoever the gardener is did a tremendous job. It's just absolutely beautiful. I think it's modeled after the original garden. It has an English garden feel to it, with beautiful colors, all beautiful wildflowers. Just a lovely feel. And I love these new, they look like they're old, but I'm sure they're new urns that look something like straight out of Edward Gorey, especially these black ones. I absolutely love them. They're so great. I want to move in here. Maybe I can find myself an inexpensive version for my garden, but I just love these urns. This entire veranda is beautiful. There's another little urn. That was one of the older ones that was there before. And I wanted to show you a tree that I love, because to me, this would have been the tree that I would be sitting in reading a book as a kid. It's just like the perfect little cradle. It's almost like a welcoming hand to sit there and read your book. I would do it now, but I'd probably get arrested. But anyway, I wanted to share because I just love that little tree. It's so beautiful. I imagine Alice in Wonderland sitting up there. And I'll end the video with another black urn that I love. So let me know what you're reading this summer, and I'll see you next time. Bye.